In congressional hearings, conservatives just got another memorable lesson about insulting people who are smarter than them. At a House hearing, the debate was over government-funded universal childcare, and Lindsey Burke, a right-wing Heritage Foundation official, ridiculed Democratic Rep. Katie Porter by name, and soon discovered that was a big mistake.
If I could just, for the record, say I would not take Congresswoman Porter's investment opportunity, because it's investing with other people's money, and it's making choices that they might not themselves want to make with those dollars.
I want to start by talking about other people's money, because last time I checked, that's all we spend is the American people's money. That's actually the function of Congress. And there are no dollars that we spend that do not come from the American people. So the argument that we shouldn't do something because it's spending other people's money would simply suggest that we don't spend any money at all, including zeroing out the defense budget. Is that in fact what you were suggesting, Dr. Burke, that we zero out the defense budget so that we don't spend other people's money?
No, but it is the case that
I'm reclaiming my time.
You are spending other people's money.
Always.
And that those choices need to reflect what most Americans want.
Okay.
Most Americans do not
Reclaiming
want
my time, Mr.
government-funded
Chair.
universal child
Reclaiming
care.
my time.
Most Americans do not want government-funded universal child care, said Burke. Well, that's actually not true. Most Republicans may oppose it, but most Democrats support it. And a majority of Americans, according to polls, support universal child care when they are told the costs and benefits of such funding. All the data shows that for every dollar invested in child care, $4 is returned in future economic savings and benefits. As Katie Porter noted with the help of a witness, the math is a no-brainer.
So we're losing right now $122 billion.
$122 billion that we could have in our economy, and yet what we hear around here all the time is that we don't have money to do things. So Congress has had years to invest in universal child care. Every dollar we put in would have generated, estimates show, about $4 for our economy, yet we still don't have it. Why? Ms. Potato, why don't we have this?
Well, we need to build the political and public will. The voters are there.
Okay, so the problem must be then the will of the people here, because
Yeah.
voters support this. So let's talk about who's here. How would you describe the gender balance and average age of Congress?
It skews older, male, and whiter.
That's correct. So only about 28% of members of Congress are women. The median age in the Senate is 65, and the median age in the House is 58. So on average, lots of older people, lots of older men, lots of men.
In other words, Congress is comprised of lawmakers who will not benefit from early childhood help and care. Most members' kids are grown, so the lawmakers don't have to worry about balancing work with preschool care obligations.
I would also call it structural sexism. When we say smash the patriarchy, when we say that structural sexism continues to permeate this body and this policy, our policies, that's what we're talking about. We're not imagining it. It's not about interpersonal slights. It is about what this body chooses to get done and to fund and to focus on, and what always ends up on the cutting room floor in legislation. Structural sexism is an age-old story. It's not going to go away by itself. It's going to go away because we make it go away. When we stop undervaluing the work of Black and brown women, or the majority of childcare workers, when we start recognizing that women can and must contribute to our economy if we're going to have a globally competitive economy.
President Biden has proposed spending $400 billion for universal preschool care financed by taxes on the wealthiest Americans and corporations. Experts say such a program would boost economic productivity by $1.5 trillion. But never mind the math, Porter noted there is a moral part to this investment as well. Because when Republicans argue that some parents choose to stay home to take care of their kids, Porter explained that is not an option for single parents.
Senator Vance's hypothetical says that one parent might prefer to stay home. That's probably true. There's a lot of statistics that show that parents, men and women, have different preferences at different points in time. But what about the 10 million single moms? Where do they fit? Dr. Burke, where did you put your children in childcare?
Well, I'm not going to bring my children into this hearing, so it doesn't have any bearing on this. So
Dr. Burke, do you have children?
I do.
So I'm sharing my story because my story is one that doesn't get heard in this Congress. Because you know how many single moms there are?
One or two?
One, childcare, custodial care to help people who may choose all kinds of different options. I've had full-time care. I've had 3/4 care. When I had a spouse, he stayed home some years. That was how we fit the pieces together. But that's what this hearing is about, not jamming one size fits all. But if there isn't the money, there won't be the choice.
Amen. And in a nation that chooses to spend $1 trillion a year on the Pentagon budget, one would think that spending a fraction of that each year to safeguard families with young children would be easy. Sadly, logic is not easy for the U.S. Congress. And by the way, you heard Katie Porter correctly. She is the only single mom in Congress. She knows full well the challenges and benefits of early child care help and assistance, and we should all be grateful that Katie Porter, Democrat from California, is speaking out. By the way, an Indiana police officer recently slammed to the ground a peaceful teenage girl. The officer told her dad he was assisting her to get out of her car. In South Whitley, Indiana, near Fort Wayne, that cop just threw that teenage girl to the ground.
How old are you?
18.
Good job, you're going to jail.
The officer said she had been speeding and took too long to produce her ID.
Can you please grab my phone and my license for me?
You're now going to jail. Do you understand? You don't get to sit there and tell me how I'm going to do my job. Do you understand?
This attachment.
Moments later, the girl's father arrived.
Want to give me her ID, want to give me her registration. So she was assisted out of the vehicle.
Assisted.
About 5 minutes out, maybe 4.
Well, the cop has now been assisted off the police force. It turns out the officer has a history of violence and that city officials knew it in advance. Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.